Okay. So, any moment we should be going live. As you guys see it, you can let me know. And I do believe
We're live.
that's all set up there. Let's mention and and Discord. We are live. Okay. All right. So, this is session 2 of our story about hunting down monsters and creating armor from their body parts. So, again, we have Lucid, we have Kush, and we have Sout. And everyone want to say your character names for me?
Zebediah.
I'm Wendell.
I'm Massator.
Massator. Now, Lucid, you do sound a little quiet, so I don't know if you could talk closer to your mic or put... Yeah. Why don't you say something now?
Oh, hello.
All right, cool.
I don't know if that made any difference.
Okay. So,
I can't watch this stream at the same time and also like pay attention to you, so I'm just gonna close it for now.
that's probably a good idea. All right, so where we left off, the group found the treasure trove hidden underneath Zebediah's. I like to think it's under your porch, but it's like, under the floorboards, and you're like...
That's the entrance, but it's like bigger than the house itself underneath.
Yeah, because you were kind of talking about like as if it was like caves or like a cellar or like some kind of like giant storing area.
It's like where most people would live in that space. I live in a shed, and the house is like the trove.
Okay, so the big question is, what does it look like? What do you think it should look like to the others? I mean, are we talking like a dragon's hoard? Is it expansive? Is it a lot of chests? Is it shelves with like old spider webs covering things up? Or
It's like you can tell there used to be shelves, and they're still there somewhere. There's stuff mounted on the walls, but there's just so much of it just started piling up, and not everything's super rare or anything, but there's gold mixed in with the junk, and it just became like a hoard basically, just throwing stuff into the pile.
yeah. So what I'd really like to know is like Massator, if you could dig through this, and let's say there's like all kinds of monster parts, there's probably different things that have been crafted over the years. What kind of stuff would you look for? What kind of stuff would you look for you? What kind of stuff would you look for your guys?
Well, for sure, I want to make sure we're combat ready as heck, and whatever Lucid was willing to give up.
Yeah.
I would probably say I feel like my sword would probably already be top-notch quality gear, so I would probably check out armor to see if he's got anything that's better.
Okay.
If not, like better for me, at least better for some people, like maybe Katara or maybe even Wendell now that he's joined the party, kind of. I give him like a bow staff that's like double-sided. Like I think he's gonna be really proficient after I saw him do that flying kick. Oh yeah, he's a monk-like kind of character, Probably holding it, doesn't know what to do.
Lucid, I was thinking, right, since the story is eventually about hunting down monsters and creating armor from their body parts,
Right.
maybe that armor is something that's tied to you. Maybe you've been working on a set of armor forever. Maybe it's like something you've been building towards. I love the idea that maybe down here there's like a partial set in the works, or it's waiting for alterations or.
Well, I can see maybe a Massator noticing project that I kind of like left behind, because at this point, even if I was starting it, my focus is just getting the heart.
Yeah.
And so maybe he notices it though, and like realizes what he could do with it.
So Master, you and Kitiara are basically walking around. You're trying to find armor pieces, and you can't help but find like this little area that's kind of like this, just this shelving area, chests around it, and stocked, basically standing up on some kind of like a mannequin tower in front of it, is this set of armor it looks like it really hasn't been touched or messed with, but at one point, it's the only thing that's kind of like set aside and put out for show. You feel like there's got to be a story to this.
Okay. I ask Zebediah. I point to it. Tell me more about this hunt. Because I know it's from a hunt.
It's from a few. It's some of the rare parts I found that I could hobble them together of it, but before I could finish it, I just kind of started getting too old to really get what I wanted to wrap it up. But
Wendell's armor is
maybe
probably
one
not
day.
as good as that. It's time to upgrade Wendell. You said it was like a beanpole, right? You said you were a scrawny guy, or no?
Yeah, I'm kind of thin, not real tall. I don't know that beanpole would quite describe me. I'm kind of short.
Okay, well, I start making alterations to it with Lucid's Zebediah's permission.
Sure.
Take it off, start fitting it. Like, it's obviously oversized for him, but we make it start fitting. So now he looks like a hulking kind of guy, but he's not,
Sout, what do you think? What would be the coolest thing that this armor could look like to you?
Oh, man.
Why don't you think about that while we make a roll about how well you can fashion Wendell in this?
I gotta get, because I have my red shirts, but even my red shirts, in my opinion, are more equipped than Wendell is.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm basically just wearing a jacket and a shirt.
He came for
Also,
a survey.
Can you guys hear Wendell pretty well? Because I have him maxed out for me, and it's still a little soft.
He sounds okay to me.
Okay, just making sure. I'll have to try to fix it myself.
Sout, what strategies do you have? Which one do you think might help you size up Wendell and help him fit best in this armor?
Monster knowledge. I know,
Sure.
what a monster is, and parts I can get from that, and maybe some kind of imaginative use of that.
Yeah, of course. Does
That's
anybody
like
else
the
have
closest I
anything?
have.
Would anybody have anything that might make them step in and say, no, this is how you should do it?
I've got a la mode. I could use that.
Now, that was one of your tags, right?
That is one of my tags.
Okay. So what's cool, right, is Sout, you could roll Imagine in Monster Knowledge, seeing that these parts were all pieced together from monsters at one point or another, and depending on how well you do, you could even pull off of Kush's tag of a la mode.
Okay. So I'm gonna roll.
Yep, go for it.
You said it was imagined.
Imagine.
All right. Let's find out. Oh no! One success.
You got one success. So we threw out a tag that could help you, but it's your choice. Any tags you'd like to use?
I have resourceful and glorious. And how glorious would it be to take this greenhorn with us and help him get his first kill on not just any creature, but the Cyclocator?
I like that you kind of stare at him and you're trying to put the pieces on in a way that
He's like my
works
protege.
for his feeble body type, but you see the potential in him. You're
Exactly.
I can see you on the battlefield, and it inspires you maybe to re-roll your failed die and succeed. I hope.
Okay. Do I just hit the tag, right? Still a fail.
Yeah, and
Wait, I have 2 tags.
but you also have 2 sevens.
Wait. Oh, crap. You're right.
So critical both, which has been the story of this game, which is awesome. Why don't we start with? Let's do the worst first, right? How about the worst? So, what's the worst thing that could happen?
That no matter how hard I try, the armor's just not going to fit him.
Okay.
So,
Lucid, got anything to add or anything you'd like to suggest?
I think the worst thing would be maybe it's thrown together in such a way where the wrong move or a hit hard enough, didn't notice that a piece of it would actually fail to interconnect like normal and actually stab him with the armor itself if he's hit hard enough in a certain way or something like that.
Awesome. So it doesn't bother
very,
him
very
now.
flawed armor.
Yeah, it's flawed. Kush, what do you think?
I was thinking that in your haste to sort of alter this armor in a way that's clearly beyond your capabilities, you actually end up breaking an integral part of it.
Oh. Okay. So, with all that great stuff in mind, some of that even could be later on. So, I'll let that stir in my head. What's the best thing that could happen? This should end with Sout. So, why don't we just go? We'll go Lucid, Kush, and then Sout.
He gets it to fit pretty well overall and make it functional for him. I think that'd probably be the ideal outcome.
Except for, yeah, right?
Right.
Kush, what do you think?
Well, not only does it, work and come together as a piece of armor, but it makes me look just distractingly good.
Your job to continue to think of why you look so awesome in it. Sal, what do you think?
Kind of along with Kush, but more like maybe it empowers him. So now, like maybe he's like, yeah, I'm gonna hunt this cyclocator, and then he's just, like maybe like a temporary boost of confidence,
Sure,
perhaps. Like he's gonna
inspiration.
feel like a well armored machine, and then like you said, maybe not so much.
Okay. Well, Lucid, is there anything that you want to grab from your stash?
I'm probably just gonna put on my kind of thrown together armor, like basic gear,
Yeah.
like the shin guards or some sort of like crustacean shell.
Cool.
The chest piece is like a rainbow shimmering scale mail with bracers that kind of look like they're from some sort of insectoid creature. Like
Yeah.
the whole, and then there's like leather underneath that's a patchwork. The whole thing looks like a perfect example of when you're video gaming and you min-max your armor. You don't make it look good. You just go for stats.
Awesome. So with that, while you're getting your gear on, of course, we call it Ryjax. How are we saying your companion?
No, Renjix.
Rinjix. Rinjix, you can hear his footsteps as he comes down the steps, big and powerful as he is. Light of foot when he wants to, but in this way, he wants everyone to know his presence, right? I'm here. And he moseys on towards you, especially almost like he can sense you're putting on your old gear. Which is making him excited, a lot like a dog that just wants to run circles around you, waiting for his leash.
Right.
Is there anything you would battle him up with?
I'm thinking just like a basic kind of harness I can kind of hang on to or whatever to ride him. Nothing too restricting though.
Kush, obviously you have this gear. I don't know if it was awkward for you. It's probably the first time you've probably been fitted for clothes before, right? You were a poet, right?
Yeah, I feel good, and I want to find a mirror.
What's interesting too, right, is that this is like your character's looking for a fresh start. In a mirror right now, you would look like a new person, right? So of course you find yourself a mirror. Of course, though it's dark in here, there's just like limited light that doesn't really cover all the corners of shadow. But inside, you do find basically you can see from the low end, but it gets darker as it rises towards your head level. Massator. So, what about yourself? You have your awesome sword.
Yep.
You see these two. You see everyone getting battle ready.
Oh, yeah.
It probably, I would think, inspires your character as well because seeing everyone go to the length that they're going in, no one's taking this lightly. Everyone is digging, and they're making sure because, like you said, this could be a dangerous beast. This could be something mythical, something, like a once in a lifetime kill. And with that, you see Kitiara just kind of catch her glance as she kind of looks over, sees her uncle, and just kind of has this smile on her face of being proud, like she's going on this great hunt she heard her whole life about.
Did you ask me something? Sorry.
Is there anything you grab for yourself?
No, I'm just making sure. Well, we already lost 3 people, right? We lost 3 red shirts.
I think it was 2. Was there a third
Was
one?
it 2?
I think it was 2.
Okay.
Oh, my bad.
2 in Winston, but
Which one was Winston?
the personal trader.
He died? I don't remember him dying.
No, last we saw, he was outside.
But no, I just want to reflect on it. Obviously, I don't want to lose any more people, but at this point, it's more like I'm reflecting on how I've seen probably many people die, and they know what they signed up for, kind of thing. Except for Wendell. Wendell's kind of just been drafted into this. So,
I'm just happy to be a part of the team.
exactly. I could tell, right? So I'm like, it's like, oh, you poor. Like, he's not even a red shirt, he's like green to me.
So, Lucid, as you're putting together your armor and you're barding up, I think barding up, right? What do they call that when you?
Yeah.
What do you put on a horse?
Like the saddle
It is barding, right?
and
That's the
range.
armor.
But yeah, barding would be putting all the.
Yeah. So as you're kind of getting your gear together, you hear the words kind of this old conversation you had with Flugel. Flugel being the monster part, a relationship that you have. How close are you guys?
Contact.
Contact. Okay. So it wasn't somebody that you ever had any sort of buddy relationship with. Just someone who was reliable. He gave you steady work. He'd tell you about obscure things that maybe he'd need that you were perfect for back in the day. But, the one job that the two of you would have any sort of camaraderie about would be the one of the Cycloctator. The one that made him go, you know, if only we could get those pieces. He talked about it like it was his one job and he'd be done. And for you, over time, just because it was the one thing that kind of eluded you, escaped you, that was never, you just never found one. You didn't even believe it was real to some degree. It has been something that you've always had in the back of your head, something you wish you could take back to the guy, just to show him that you did every job he ever asked for. Flugel mentioned some things about what he appreciated, but since you're only contacts, what strategy would help you remember why he wanted those parts?
Not really any of my strategies, I don't think.
What you got?
Subterfuge, tracking, and beat it with a stick.
It sounds like an imaginative use of subterfuge, right? You were contacts. He probably wouldn't just volunteer that information, but maybe after years of working with them, you put the pieces together if you really cared. Or maybe just because you were good with subterfuge. And I'm going to close that for now. Okay, so we got one success. Any tags that would help you?
Either former monster hunter or potentially, I guess, even the one under Flugel, a long-term supplier or buyer.
Sure. Which one do you prefer? How would it help you?
I think probably the one from Flugel himself, just because it's directly related to it, and just trying to remember back more of our conversations, if not directly what he said, just inferring, maybe like filling in the pieces of what I forgot based on other things I knew about him.
Yeah. You kind of remembering him as an individual who grew older. He was always kind of a big lug of a guy, deep voice, kind of like a square head. He got bald really young, and so for a while there he tried to, he just had the receding part in the back, but eventually it was all gone. But it did make his eyes just look really big on his head. Usually he was always wearing just kind of like a tabard, or, just something that kind of covered his shoulders but not really his arms. It made him look strong until his olden days, but just like all of us, age gets us.
Hit the reroll, I guess?
Or... Yep. Awesome. So with 2 successes, you remember the thing that was funny about it all is that he always talked about the hide in particular of the Cycloctator being something that had a musk about it that was used in like mating rituals. And then as you kind of have this montage in your head of him and the story of him and the things about him and the things, it actually makes you think that maybe he thought in some ways the eye he always said was a trophy, but the hide itself could be wrapped around a person or created into some form of armor or even some sort of like a tent. And he also was interested in the horns for shavings. But you wonder if it was something about virility, maybe even like his own fountain of youth, like thoughts. Of course, you've had a long time to think about that, but these just thoughts kind of cross over your memory that you haven't really thought about in 20 years probably. So.
Right. And my maybe from stories I've heard and put together from rumors and everything else, like the heart is what I definitely need to regain my youth. And I don't mean in a metaphorical sense.
Okay. It seems like you guys have everything you need. You know the location loosely, right? That the Eorvis Trading Company, they were building all sorts of buildings, like making themselves like a compound or a headquarters here. But from basically what you were told from Kitiara and limited information that kind of came through Windows back channel, is it sounds like it's being instantly devastated over and over again. So whatever they were building is largely destroyed, which means that you're probably going to find some kind of encampment of them surrounding the perimeter of whatever extent the damages are. So that's kind of what you think you're walking into. Is you expect, Mastator, you're another person who's dealt with these people before, not in a friendly fashion most of the time. So you guys both know that it's you expect that there'll probably be an outer perimeter of Eorvis Trading Company people to deal with. So you could talk to them, sneak through them, fight them. But if you get past them, you can get to the Cycloctator.
No. Can I throw the new armored window at them? Like a
You could.
fastball special?
He probably has some explaining to do. So
Actually, that wouldn't be a bad idea. We could use window as a surprise attack.
I like that you said surprise attack because I don't think that's the same thing he would think. And the secondary thing too would be how do you want to handle the Cycloctator when you reach it? The thoughts that you know as you believe he's monstrous in size. You do know that the creature is devastating buildings single-handedly. So, and when I say monstrous, you don't necessarily think Godzilla, but big, you know? Maybe. You don't know. Nobody's really seen them before. But very powerful, horns, hands, feet, large body, probably
Have you
very
guys seen
muscular.
Attack on Titans?
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
we need something to help us get us into the air so we can land on its back and stab
Okay.
it.
You do know that the Oris Trading Company have these basically like, I was going to say like drop ships almost. They don't really use them for more than like moving people around. And everyone kind of thinks of them as like air caravans or something. But if there is an outer perimeter, it's very likely that that's most of what's going to be the encampment. Why use tents when they already have basically trailers? So, okay.
So how big is our crew again?
Right
You
now,
said it was like 13 people, right? Give or take?
yeah. Yeah, because you got Kush now. So window makes 13.
Reminds me of that movie, God, started with a B. The 13th Warrior or something like that?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
13th Warrior.
That's a great movie.
Wendell, man. A lot of pressure. So, did you want me to describe more of his armor now or no?
Go for it.
So, I was thinking like it's gonna be like dark, but patchy, more like the Predator's armor, but still well armored. I don't know if you guys ever seen the movie Predator. So he's got like
Yeah.
a mask. No one can see like how he's got like these little glaives on his hand, which I'm sure he'll never. They're more ceremonial at this point, but you know.
That's fantastic. I totally did not expect it at all. Like I was thinking like some kind of like cool like high leather armor, and he's the walking predator with like dreads or I don't even know.
Well, the dreads are optional. I don't want to make like you said. He's looking in the mirror. Maybe he added the dreads. I don't know.
Oh,
Wendell's like, no, I need feathers.
some sort of headgear is important, and a contrasting color to really set off the outfit.
okay.
It's like,
What do you want to do first?
what are our options?
Options are you sneak by Yorvis to go straight for the Cycloctator. Otherwise, you have to go through them somehow, which could be talking to them or fighting them or getting them to leave. Once you get to the Cycloctator, there are options of what do you do with them then. Right now, you have equipment to probably head on fight him as best you could, but that's probably not necessarily the best option. So being that you have a skilled group of hunters, there may be other monsters you could fight to find parts that may help you battle it in different ways, like maybe being invisible or being able to glide and attack it from above, or
I
who
like the
knows?
gliding idea. I feel like
Or
flight's always
fire,
an
for example,
advantage.
other kinds of attacks that you might not have with basic equipment, but maybe you could fashion. Think of your contacts, like Kush.
Let me use monster knowledge. Can I use monster knowledge?
Of course.
I
Wendell
want to see if
has-
there's any creatures that can help augment our either jumping skill or give us like flight. There's got to be something on this planet that.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So is that reasonable?
That sounds reasonable, yeah, because you're kind of pulling off of what you know. And other options, of course, Wendell.
Oh no. I should have just bought it.
Okay, well, I was going to give you some more options, but why don't we just start with that, right? So, all right. So, Massator, you believe, right? There are these herds of dogs that have antlers. The antlers are basically they're a substance very similar to like a cold iron, something that's powerful against ancient beings. If there was fairy folk, their antlers could be fashioned. Basically, if you hunt them down, you take their antlers. You could fashion them into blades, spears, javelins, all kinds of objects that, no matter what the Cycloctator is, should be able to damage it. So that's the first object you have. Is you're like, well, what if all the weapons we take just bounce off? What if they cannot pierce the hide of whatever this creature is? I mean, to you, it's a dragon. Like that's this. It's a creature of lore, right? It's not just everyday beast.
So that's a critical fill, though, right?
Yeah. So you know where these Deegs roam. You think that your only option for a guaranteed kill is that everyone needs cold iron.
Everyone needs to what?
Needs cold iron.
Got it.
Yeah. So why don't you tell your friends what you think?
I'm gonna tell them I had like an epiphany. We must stop what we're doing and go hunt down the Deegs. Their horns. Telling you the horns. You shave them down. We can make so many spears. Pin the creature down and then lob them, like in 300. Just a sky of. I sound crazed at this point.
It sounds crazed, but it sounds so crazy that it just might work. It's like Gulliver, right? They just pinned him down. All those little guys.
If they pierce his skin, that might work. If at the very least we can attach some sort of tether to them and try to pin them against something. If we can't pierce his hide with them.
Well, it has to be the Deegs. The Deegs.
They are very, very sharp horns. Hopefully they work well enough. But perhaps something more mystical wouldn't hurt either.
You do know a guy.
Yeah, I know someone. Lives not too far from here.
Which Kush, of course, that would trigger your thoughts too. Some other guy lives out in the howls?
Who else lives out in the howls? I'm totally distracted at this point. I'm running around in the background with the red shirts, just trying to start a chant of the Deegs, the Deegs, the Deegs.
I join in. Deegs, Deegs, Deegs.
I just kind of like look over at Kitiara and like.
She looks at you. She shrugs her shoulders. I don't think we can win. As you see the other 10 companions who are all starting to be like, Deegs, 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 Deegs.
We're starting a cult.
You may be right there. You may be right.
So, switching scenes, right? You find yourself a couple hours later, basically looking over what would be like one of the limited chasms that's out here. Because most of it's flat but craggy. But, maybe like a 20-foot sort of like perch that's like on both ends where there's a bit of a valley below. And you expect that basically as the sunlight, what limited light comes through here basically goes away for nightfall, that they should basically begin to migrate under these perches, and that they move around as basically like giant pack of dogs. Now when I say giant pack of dogs, you do think of them like a stampede pack, like a herd. So we're not talking like 10, 20, we're talking about like 50, 60, and if it's big, like 100. So you could wait here until they go to sleep. You could try to scare them and pick them off. You could try to get the first of them, or wait all night and get the last of them. But these are all strategies that you would have. But given the time that you have, and knowing that unless you tell Eeyore something within the next day, they're expecting to level your house. So you need to either get to this Cycloctator quick, or give Eeyore some reason not to level your house.
Do we have any bombs?
I like that a lot. Does anybody have any strategies that would incline that maybe they have bombs?
Zebediah, maybe.
Yeah, you have a lot of traps. What strategy helped you with that?
I'm thinking former Monster Hunter. They're all basically different methods of ways I took down other monsters that I kind of just toned down a bit to be yard snares and whatnot.
Sure. Yeah, so we could say, well, they're not exactly like C4, right? But you could have like limited booms, right? They would be quite effective if they hit someone.
or at the very least stun it maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of a. Well, seeing how your men
Because we're
fared.
above, right?
Yeah, I imagine you guys would all be kind of army crawl style, like on these perches. Again, they're not here yet. You can just tell me if you skip time till a certain point, but otherwise, yeah, they're not here yet. But you expect them, the first stragglers, to start coming in soon.
Given
Oh.
how your men fared with my yard, I don't know how well they'll go with against a herd, but I would recommend.
What about a combined roll? What if I use my monster knowledge and your trap play? We can basically, like, two-man. Well, maybe just not. Maybe not you. You could tell me how to make the bombs, right? And I go down to where they're supposed to come in,
Yeah.
and we can like detonate it and just kill like the first 10 or so, right? And then the rest will just be scared off. That we don't have to even engage them because these are dangerous monsters. Because they're wolves with horns, so that's
Basically.
not like they're not prey animals.
Yeah.
Right.
And by horns, like antlers, right? So some
Yeah.
of them have like racks, like as if they were like a buck.
Right?
Right.
Okay, what you want to do? We're throwing some bombs.
No, we're gonna plant some bombs.
Ooh, okay.
Right.
Planting some bombs is a little bit harder, just in the way that like you don't have a lot of time before anyone would show up. Of course, you can pick off the stragglers if you're worried about it, or just move quickly.
Well, and I'm thinking even something we can kind of get a little bit closer and just almost kind of toss them down, and when they step on them, pressure.
Okay.
More
Who's
like
making them?
mines.
Zeb, are you making them, or do you have them?
I'm thinking I probably brought some.
Okay.
Just especially not necessarily trusting the red shirts to be as effective.
So why don't we use that? The former.
Well, that was a tag, not a strategy.
Okay. What
So
strategies do you
for
have?
strategy, that'd probably be subterfuge. Or
Yeah.
beat it with a stick.
Or beat it with a stick. It's a reasonable use of subterfuge, or it's an imaginative use of beat it with a stick.
Okay, go with the reasonable use of
Yeah,
subterfuge.
I think that's better too, because you are kind of like, it's not like you're head on fighting them with it. Okay.
Okay.
One success. Any
And
tags?
the tag, there I could use the former Monster Hunter thing, maybe.
Yeah. How does that help you in this situation?
Um, maybe I forgot like
I could
one
also help, couldn't
component,
I?
but I have something else that will work in its place that I remember. Like the components are maybe it won't be quite as powerful, but should still be effective for what we intend to do.
Okay. Yeah, Sout, you can always help, but preferably you can help when like he uses your tag, for example.
Well, so sick. Can you use my tag or no?
He always can, yeah.
So I have resourceful as a tag, and I did kind of like bring up the strategy.
Okay.
I didn't know if you wanted to use that instead.
Okay.
Maybe like you realize something. I said, no, I know how to draw them in because monster knowledge. And I go like this, like the meme.
All right.
Even though I think
So why don't you reroll your reason and see how you do. Drum roll, please. Good, good, good. Okay, so 2 successes. So you set out these traps. Your past knowledge helps you know kind of where and how to place them. Even after you did it, right? You had to kind of go back over it real quick. But
Right.
you had enough hands. I would think that you mentioned you didn't really want to use all the hunters, but you do have a lot of people that can make this work pretty quickly. Maybe even if you kind of glossed over what work they did.
Well, not using them in the sense of I don't necessarily trust them against a herd of beasts, like in direct combat.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem using them for planning something.
Yeah, manual labor.
it detonates in their hands, not a big deal, right?
Yeah. Okay. So you place these out. What effect do you hope they have on these on the digs?
I mean, I think we're hoping if it doesn't kill the ones, at least stuns them and kind of scares off the others, so we can go in for the kill.
Yeah, we don't want to
Okay.
fight 50 to 100 of them. We want
Right.
like 10,
Okay.
maybe
So-
12.
So as the first batch starts coming in, they because they're kind of separated as they kind of like further out from the herd, they don't hit the bombs right away, which is perfect because a couple of them kind of get nestled in, kind of find their little spot, turn around and look and wait for the others until the first one hits a bomb. When the first one hits a bomb, now, like we said, it's like deer, but they're dogs, right? Wolves, even. So they're low to the ground. So what's good about that is these bombs actually are more effective, right? Well, I don't, maybe blowing up sticks, maybe that's more effective, stick legs. But in this case, I mean, it's really low to the ground. So the explosion has more of an effect on their whole body, right? So when the first one blows, the beast jumps up and starts rolling around and running, but looks notably burned, fur underneath, yelps loudly. And of course, when another one moves in to see what bit him, also another bomb goes off, and another bomb, and another bomb. And as the herd kind of moves towards it, they begin to slow, and some of them begin to disperse as some of them kind of move out forward as they're trying to assess what's going on. The first patch either were hurt or pushed beyond the little chasm you have before you. The second half, or most of them, are kind of leery as they're kind of leading up. As you wait, you're not sure if they'll try to move around it or if they're just going to watch to see if there's more damage. So you find yourself in a moment where a pin could drop.
So wait, like, do we see any that are disabled? Like,
Yeah.
immobile? Or dead?
I would
But the
think,
rest
yeah.
of the herd is still there for the most part.
Yeah. They've basically slowed up. Now there's plenty more bombs if they move through.
So I want to kind of throw my hand up and make a signal, and Renjix is just gonna swoop from behind them, howling, coming in to try to scare them forward, basically.
Okay.
Almost like a strafing run.
Okay. Renjix will fly out and around. Is there anything anybody else wants to do?
I don't want to roll.
Okay. All right. So Renjix will fly behind the herd and start making this, howl, screeching noise that only a wolf owl could make, right? Something that sounds loud and deep, like of a howl that starts, but then it ends with a horrific screech, just something that pierces your ears, even from as far away as Renjix went. And you do see that this begins to push the herd forward as they're nervous. Some of them run into the basically the trap, as some of them run around the trap, running out around the chasm. This leads to a bit of a situation where some of them are going to try to run behind basically the perch that you're on as well. Most likely they shouldn't notice you, or if they do, they should be fearful and just keep running. But it may excite you. So, Kush, what's going to help you not pee your pants as you see 30 of these rabid, powerful dogs with, racks like a buck on their head made of cold iron rush in a stampede, about 30 feet behind you in the rumble of the ground, because now they're not below you, they're above. They're running close by, and they're panicked, so they're kind of running awkwardly amongst each other. Do you have any strategies that would help you keep your cool?
This may be a bit unorthodox, but there's strength in numbers, so I am going to try to inspire the red shirts to take up arms against all the Deegs, and I'm basically just going to run slightly slower behind them.
Okay. Which one of your strategies would help you?
I'm going to use flattery. I'm going to tell them that they're way better than they actually are, and I'm going to finish up with a Braveheart freedom cry, but instead of freedom, it's the Deegs.
Deegs.
Okay, roll imagine, because you're not in the ideal situation. You have fear running through your veins, and you're looking out of this mask that fits, but you're not used to something on your face. And
Okay.
but nonetheless, it works flawlessly. So why don't you tell us what that looks like?
So as you're setting up the traps and they're going off, and the Deegs have started to run away, and they're panicking. I'm talking up the red shirts. I'm like, we've totally got this. This is going to be amazing. None of us have ever done anything like this before, but now this is our time. The Deegs! And they all just shout, and they're rattling their swords and their armor, and they just charge right into them.
So what do you do? when you kind of can see what he's doing, and then
Well, I
it
critically
happens.
failed earlier, so I think this is like the greatest thing ever. Like the Deegs have been slaughtered, like, and they're also running fearful. So we're basically going to coup de grace the remaining few that are straggling by. I want to get at least one for each person, if not more. So each head has 2 antlers. I'm thinking like we get 10, we get like 20 makeshift spears so we can tie down this cyclocator, give or take. But if we got extras, we got extras. We can always sell them on the market.
Okay. So, with that, right? So, the crew chases after them. Many more blow up in the explosion below. You're able to chase down, especially the stragglers. I mean, those that are damaged and hurt, like they're easy to basically run up and, I assume, stab, right? And within the hour, you find yourself standing around a pile of digs, probably 15, 20 deep, that has, for
It's
the
a
most
lot.
part, has the materials you're looking for. What do you want to fashion out of that? What do you want to do with that? They're edible too, if you want to feast. I don't know what kind of what the hunters feast on, but
I feel like we're pressed for time, and this is just because my critical fail, kind of thing. I don't know if it's gonna work. But no, we start collecting them and fashioning them into like very deadly looking. Well, because they already have antlers in them, and those antlers are super sharp.
yeah,
They're basically they're more like harpoons now, right? If we launch them at a high enough velocity and it pierces the cycloctor, it'd be like if he pulls them out, it's gonna hurt so much because it's like I don't know, like an arrowhead kind of. You know how they're the way they're shaped. They're easy to get in but hard to get out,
yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and these, because they're made of that like cold iron substance, you believe it's something like it'll have like an allergy response, right? The creature should be vulnerable to these. Pulling them out should be something that like causes it extra pain and ruptures inside and burns as it pulls out. Something harsher, worse.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you take these? Does everyone just kind of start breaking them off and then putting?
I showed them how to do it the first time, and then I can trust the because I don't want to do it all by myself. It's too much work.
Is everyone taking like what 3 or 4 of these each or something? Or okay, I didn't know if they're just being divvied out. All right.
And while they're doing that, I'm going around. I have a couple of different bags. One of them I start popping out their eyes and putting it in one bag, and cutting off their testicles with the other, and putting it in the other bag. And I take a couple of the horns from it as well.
Okay. So I really don't want to know what those are for, so I'll just leave that alone.
We're going to see Zalaria. She needs parts for stuff sometimes.
Ooh, okay. So, where to next? You have things that could damage the Cycloctator, but we still have to get to the Cycloctator, and, if we don't do it timely, we have to figure out what we're going to do about Zeb's house.
Right.
Did Wendell kill anything? Just curious.
No, I was in the back.
Huh?
No, I was in the back. I looked really good though.
That's what I was checking. Cause I think I would get some blood. Because I would not know that he didn't, right? But I would think that he did.
Yeah.
And I would just like write a passage him.
What weapons does he have? Does Wendell show any visible weapons? Like, do you even have any for show, or?
Oh no, I had nothing. We walked out of there. I was looking for a hat, not weapons.
Okay, so basically at this point, after the point of like making sure it's like a ritual, like he's a part of his first kill or something, Sout, you would know for sure at this point. You'd be like, wait, he doesn't even have a weapon.
Well, remember he's got those grafted.
Yeah, and you
Oh,
can see
right.
that they're still locked in place.
Oh yeah, he better not scratch his eye or something. He's gonna have a really bad day.
Okay, so you gather the parts, you saddle them up, bundle them up. What's the next place? What's the next step?
I think need to go visit my friend before we head on out.
Okay. So, Zebediah talks about the one other neighbor he mentioned. To Wendell's, as Wendell's ears perk up again. There's another person who lives out here? Zeb, what do you think? What's the person's name? Not Zalaria. It's with an X, isn't it?
Yeah, Zalaria.
Okay. Zalaria, what do you think Zalaria's home looks like? Is it something that you can see? Is it hidden? Is it?
I'm picturing is pretty camouflaged. Maybe like some petrified tree is like kind of the hollow inside is the entrance into some sort of underground little almost bunker type of thing with where she has her mystical laboratory set up.
Awesome. Particularly because, like we were saying, this ground seems like if it once had great trees that are long gone, and that, as if that was the method to the madness of why it looks the way it does. So there are maybe a scattering, like just a few of these trees that remain, and maybe in the case of Zalaria, it's a petrified tree that's kind of like up against one of these crags, like these sections, so it's kind of like hidden from plain sight. Um, Maybe you would even know maybe there is some magical element that also hides it from human eyes, because you'd be the ones to make it out, and that'd be a problem. So getting close to Zalaria's home, you would know that you obviously had helped set traps for Zalaria before, right? It's part of being a good neighbor. So
I'm really tempted to be entertained, but I tell him to follow my step and walk a very specific path.
okay. Do you have anything set here like you had at the house, like the highlighted footprints, or?
I think it's more probably using natural landmarks and whatnot.
Okay.
Like there's a rock that's been there for years, and so like I know this far from this rock to this way and sort of thing past that that piece of a tree versus past this type of thing.
Okay. And around and under a crag, you find this little area that seems to, in the shadows, stash what seems to be a petrified tree. And as you follow the footsteps that Zebediah carefully shows all of you to take, you find yourself before this petrified tree that seems a lot larger once you're standing in front of it than it was from afar. It seems big enough that a full-grown man could walk solidly through the hollow part like a door, but it doesn't have a door. And you can't actually see what's through it. It just looks like darkness.
Yeah, just I step inside and do like the special knock, and then they don't see it because the shrouded darkness
Yeah.
is blinding it, but it just drops underneath and kind of goes down like a little slide type of thing to her entryway.
Okay, so you see him basically fade into black, and then you hear a knock, 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 with some kind of a pattern that only Wendell would remember for sure. And when it happens, you hear like what seems like a panel or a door or some sort of thing, like a latch let go. And you hear the breath of the old man, Zebediah, just kind of wheeze out of him as he just drops and slides. It wasn't like a wee. It was just more like the air that just kind of pops out of you when you just drop suddenly. Massator, all your instincts tell you that was purposeful, but he didn't say anything. So what do you do?
Well, I wasn't sure if we were invited in, so I feel like we would just hold our perimeter outside.
All right, Wendell, what do you do?
Did you tell us to follow you, Zebediah?
I didn't say anything.
Right, so hunter's rule. You don't go where you're not invited unless you're hunting, and we're not hunting this person, right? Last that I checked.
Right.
Wendell, what about you?
I just look at Massador and be like, well, why'd he do that?
I look at him and I shrug.
You go first.
I point out that I'm keeping surroundings.
Okay. Meanwhile, Wendell, you tell me if you jump, but otherwise, Zebediah, you take the swirling staircase down, right?
Yeah.
You find yourself. Do you think do you land in like a pillow or hay, or is it really not even that abrupt? Is it like you just slide like 10 feet and then you're just standing there?
It kind of slows down a little bit at the end, and then enough to kind of come up a little bit and land on your feet.
Now, this room smells horrible, but you knew that. And in this room, there's a lot of sort of like kills that are here, and scents and aromas that are all meant to deter beasts. He hopes that the illusion above would deter humans, but then if they came down here, most of it would be rodents and animals and beasts, and this is meant to deter those. Though it is quite foul to humans too. So, if you make your way through here, basically it's almost like a cellar, and then you just can go through a door towards the back. There's next to a hearth that's never used, and then you'll find basically a giant room that's more of like his lab, but he pretty much just lives in that room, even though there's a couple others.
I was thinking it was a she.
She, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. But,
Yeah, so I imagine you just go straight back?
well, as I land and kind of come to, I just let out like a specific whistle, lets her know it's me,
Okay.
type of thing, and then head straight back.
Okay. So she actually abruptly opens the door into this area, the foul smell. As she must have been just on the other side of the doorway. She flips the door open and looks. You can't quite make out her face. Similar to before, the lighting here is mostly coming out of the hole in the ceiling. Like we said, it's very dark out. So you can mostly make out her feet, but you heard all the movements.
Yeah.
So she's probably a person who wears a robe?
Probably.
Okay, so you see basically some footsteps that are sticking out, and almost like sandals. That shows that she never really gets out much. That stick out from below a robe that doesn't quite rub against the floor, but just kind of like flows effortlessly above it. So she then you can see in her eyes at eye level these little glows of like just a silver glint, as if it was like looking at the moon, and that little shining lets you know that she can see you.
Well, looks like they found it, finally.
Her voice starts off as something almost demonic, but it levels out into something very human. Zebediah, you've finally come taking my invitation.
Yeah, I figured I needed to get all the help I can for taking down the beast.
She, unaffected by the smells, you would imagine, she basically sticks something that looks like a rod or a large stick, points it, maybe a cudgel, that points it towards basically the hearth, and then the hearth begins to like sort of kindle and begins to spark and light a fire, which then illuminates the room itself. What about all the people up above? As she does like a little twist of her cudgel.
Oh, I didn't invite them in. You didn't invite them, to my knowledge. And they probably did hear the knock. You may want to change that after I leave. But, yeah, so Kitty R, you found the Cycloctatar. Not really sure how prepared we are for it, but kind of on borrowed time at this point, and you know I need that heart, so maybe something to restore some of my vigor, maybe temporarily, maybe something to, I don't know, melt some flesh. I brought gifts, and I hand her the bags of eyes and testicles, and one of the horns. I don't know what you might need them for, if you need them at all, but I was thinking of you.
She, when you say that, she does kind of light up, almost like a little bit of a giddiness to her as she kind of moseys towards you, opening the bag with the cudgel again, not touching it, which shows her hands, and her hands do seem very elongated. But nonetheless, she kind of, as if the cudgel was an extension of her arm, kind of like spins it, and it kind of like loosens up the bag and opens it up as if she had two hands doing it. And then she kind of pokes each side, and as it falls flat, and all of the things within it are kind of laying before that's both of you. As you kind of describe what they are, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Deeks. I can still smell these. They're fresh. She bows down real close to it.
Yeah, pretty fresh, just right before we made our way here.
Oh, I like this very much. She zips the cudgel around and sort of like wraps it back up. Please, bring it back here. Bring it into the lab.
Pick them up and bring, ask.
It's so good that you finally come. As you can hear her kind of like tapping her fingers together as she kind of walks or hovers back towards that back door. Up top. So, Kush. You have all these hunters who are kind of like walking around, looking, peering around. Some of them are even kind of like touching the surfaces to kind of like not try to understand why they can't see it. General consensus seems that they think it's magic, right? Or monster enchantments. Other than that, this tree itself is very strange to you. You've seen nothing like it before in your life. While we think of it as something like petrified, it seems almost as if it's like made of metal, like as if it was like a carved metal. It has like that sort of like glimmer and sheen, like if something chrome underneath it, but it doesn't really like it's not like reflective.
Okay.
What strategies do you have?
I have rhythm, performance, and flattery.
When you kind of get closer to it, you can feel that in your armor, something off to the side of one of your leg. I can't think what the pieces are, but basically of the leg pieces, something was attached to the side of it that you didn't see before, and there's a small drum that just kind of hits against the side of your leg, and it's just hanging there, maybe the size of like a half paint can. You didn't really think of it as a drum, but how it hit your leg this second gave it this sound that only a drum makes, right? Like that hollow thump.
Okay. So just to clarify, you're saying that as my as my armor knocks up against the piece of this tree that's roughly drum shaped, it makes a sound like a drum.
Yeah, but the piece is actually attached to your armor.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that piece is attached to my armor.
It seems like something you should have noticed before. It seems like you have something that really looks like a primitive drum that was fashioned and is hanging from your side.
How low is it?
It's just below your waist.
So, do I think that this drum is important in any way? Like, do I have any feeling about what it might mean, or is it just something that I'm noticing?
It's something that you're noticing, in particular because there's something that drew it out to your attention as you came close to this tree.
Okay.
There's something about as you kind of hovered your hands and your armor touched against this tree that made that apparent to you.
Okay. I am going to start playing my armor.
It's got a interesting sort of hide that's wrapped around it, right? To make a drum, it's some sort of animal. In this world, so far as you've seen, probably some kind of monster hide. Okay. So you start playing that drum. Why don't you roll Imagine in Rhythm?
Oh,
Okay. So, Mastor, unbeknownst to you, Wendell starts playing a drum beat. Not from a drum that you saw previously. And is it something, do you detach it from your armor, or do you just kind of play it on the side where your armor is?
I just play it where it is.
Okay. You just use your hum and kind of pat along on it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You had 2 successes. What are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling good.
Okay.
I didn't follow Zebediah down into that hole in the tree, which was obviously a trap for anyone that wasn't him. And I got to inspire some red shirts. I feel like I might become their hero pretty soon. I'm just going with the flow.
Mastor, you feel a little more upbeat, as all of your fellow companions also feel more upbeat. There's just something about the drumming that seems to kind of put everyone at ease, even though you would think it should cause a problem reasonably, that it would draw attention, undue attention. But everyone seems
no,
to
but
be...
we're ready. We're warriors. We're here to hunt.
All right.
If anything, this is like inspiring us. Maybe starts into not a song, but like a chant. You know, like a maybe. You know what? This is a good time. We decide with Wendell drumming for us. We teach him a old style hunter song. That even Kiriara knows. She joins in. Is Owl Beast with us too?
I would imagine, right? Lucid?
Yeah, he's outside somewhere. He may not be
I
directly.
figured
with
he
you,
would
but
have probably also heard this song of lore.
bonus points if y'all actually sing it.
Who, me?
Yeah.
I don't know it. I just made it up. I'm not a singer, so you don't want me singing on stream. That would lead to 0 views.
Okay. So as that's going on, right down below, Zeb, you walk into the laboratory, and you see all kinds of concoctions with strange colors that are pouring from liquids, as if automated, from cauldrons and different sort of like chemistry-like bubbles. There's a hearth that's in here that glows blue, and it actually glows cold, right? It's like channeling some kind of ice. which actually has the whole room sort of chilled, and there's frost that is on different parts. The whole room seems to be made of like a slate mixed with whatever that tree was, as if you were in the walls, or as if they were the outer parts of the tree that sunk into the ground at one point. Other than that, she basically walks in and kind of takes note of the things that are around. She walks towards the blue light, and you can kind of see her eyes kind of like glimmer as she stares at it. And she'll turn to you as you start hearing a drum beat that sort of echoes from above. It's not very loud, but it just, enough that some interesting new noise that's been introduced. She looks to you. What is that? She kind of looks up.
Probably the others that I brought with me.
Lucid should know this song.
They aren't very stealthy.
As she takes a moment just to think of how peculiar it sounds, she walks towards you. So what is it that you needed? You want that heart. You want vitality, but...
Well, I don't know exactly the full extent of what you can do. I know you've helped me a little bit in the past, but I need something, like I said, that can potentially melt very tough flesh, or at least weaken it enough to pierce. Something to quicken my step and strengthen my muscles. They aren't what they used to be. And if you could, some sort of enchantment, and I hold up the other horn that I took.
Okay.
To potentially, I don't know if these will work. It was a good idea regardless, but anything that might help it pierce the flesh of this beast.
How close are the two of you?
She is close.
So you're finally after the Cycloctator. You truly believe that you know where it is?
I do.
You truly believe that this time you can defeat it?
Yeah. They're about to destroy this whole area. What is it?
Eoris.
Eoris. The Eoris Corporation. Flatten my home, and they don't know you're here, so you'll be fine, I'm sure.
In the background, you start hearing the war song that's just slowly beginning to chant in.
I can take some amusement, and even if they do wipe me out, or if I don't survive, that if they take over this area some 10, 20 years from now, they've built over it, you're still here giving them hell without them having any idea you exist. That's entertaining. So, regardless, I have to make my move now, whether I'm ready for it or not.
I see. So finally, it is the time. And what about them? What will happen to them? Oh, I would love if something would happen to them.
Out of character, them being who?
Eoris.
Oh. Well, take down as many of them as I can as well. I don't like those bastards.
Okay.
They come here claiming this planet and this area. They have no ownership rights.
You in the back of your head, you remember something about Monarch Kanani saying that no, not a residential district. Just BS jargon that they were feeding you. She looks to you. If you want the vigor you seek, and you want to grasp the heart of the Cycloctator, I require the same. I need a heart.
Any particular heart, or just a heart?
A beating heart.
What kind of heart?
A beating heart.
Oh, no.
Do you need it now or after?
Oh, now. Well, whenever you want the effects. I mean, if it can wait, then of course so can the heart, but... She looks at you as you look up towards the ceiling. It doesn't have to be human. But, it works the same either way. So she turns around and she starts playing with the stuff that you gave her.
choice of words.
I'll see what I can do.
Okay. What do you do, Seb?
Well, actually, do you? This may be unorthodox, but do you have a way to prolong my life without a heart until I get that heart?
Well, she's not looking at you. You just see the back of her. And she's got like sort of like a long black hair that's, mostly covered by a hood that's slowly kind of seeped back down from, half head at the point. I do, but it's very, very risky. I
We
mean,
do what we must.
what you ask, I could give you 24 hours.
Well, if I don't get this Eclector heart, there's not much point for me to continue anyway.
Wait, I'm sorry. She walks towards you as if for a second there, like she didn't have to look at you, and you can almost see like a predator, like a hunter, like as if she's like looking through you, and you see her eyes, the piercing sort of little like white flame in them. I could give you a day if it was a more vibrant heart, but yours, I'm afraid you probably only have half a day at best. Will that suffice? I hate to
Do what
lose
we
my
must.
neighbor. You're the only one I have these days.
Well,
Who else will bring me gifts?
if all goes as planned, I will be around, and if it doesn't, I likely won't be your neighbor for long anyway.
Okay.
I've held off against them all I can, but if they come full force to evict me, there's very little I can do other than annoy them for a few hours.
Okay. Lucid, what strategy would help you deal with the intestinal fortitude necessary to be transformed? It would probably very much feel like being burned alive, really. But, so it doesn't sound... the end result's good, but the process sucks.
I mean, have a tag, but not necessarily a strategy.
Okay. How about imagine beat it with the stick? Because sometimes you got to get beat to hell to beat something else to hell.
Yeah, this could go really, really badly.
I should have came down there.
Do what?
I should have came down. I have haggling.
You can't buy it. You got belief.
That's what I'm looking at. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and buy it.
Okay.
That's a critical success.
Boom, boom. All right.
Yeah.
So let's put like a little note here. -2 Lucid. All right. Lucid, what do you think it looks like? I imagine that when you agreed, right, it was something as if she would rip your heart out and throw it in the ice hearth. And you would feel the burning. And the cold chill would actually, encompass you. And then she would like chisel your new form out of it. But if you want to twist that up with any mix mash of what's in this room or what could be in this room or the ingredients you gave,
Well,
you didn't crit fail, so you don't have to eat the testicles. But
I've got the cojones to do anything. But no, I mean, I like that description works. I think it's extremely painful, even as a success. Pain beyond anything ever felt before. I think when it's done, where the heart came out, it's basically still a wound, but it's almost like a zipper type of space.
Sure.
I have to get the other heart in there somehow. But yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, that description for chiseling out the new form and all that works pretty well.
And something like her, you have this white in your eyes. and your body looks grayed, right? You're not White Walker, but you're one step in that direction, right? But as you move around, right, just like a White Walker or a White, right, you are invigorated with energy, with youth, with power, right? You may not have the biceps that you once had, but you have the power within the arms that you do have.
No.
Is there any? You bought a critical. Is there anything cool about how you want to look from this, or?
I'm picturing my look more or less the same,
Okay.
just with the skin tone change you're talking about, and the cavernous chest. Beyond that, maybe some essence of the ice kind of remained inside, like as it can kind of be channeled for some sort of not quite magic, but ice manipulation type of
Sure.
shenanigans down the road.
Okay. So, what does Wendell see as he is finishing this song outside when you walk out?
How dark is it? Do I even tell that there's a difference in color?
No, you're right. You would not at first, and not until you guys walked out of the shadow of this whole place, right?
I figure the only thing that's immediately noticeable is, well, nobody else is. I'm now breathing frost, like it's really cold out,
Yeah.
like just kind of steam.
And there'd be something about not the whites of your eyes, but the whites of your pupils, right? So,
Right.
okay. So, Zeb, you return. To the others, it's probably been an hour. You feel, though, like within, let's say, 10 minutes have passed, it's like you can feel I almost want to say it's like age, but it'd be something different, right? You can feel the time clock that is your life.
Mm-hmm.
And as if you could almost know, right? Like to the minute, how much time you have left.
Right.
Okay. So you return.
Did I get the other things too, like the basically the acid type of whatnots and the enchanted the horn and all that?
Oh,
or is
yeah.
it just the okay.
So to the others, he returns. Slightly unchanged. It's been about an hour. So what do you guys say to each other?
To each other?
Yeah.
I mean, did he tell us why he's here at all? He was kind of being secretive, right?
Yeah, and I didn't actually say. I just said I need to visit a friend. So.
I mean, Kitiara is probably the first one that would go to you, I would think.
Okay.
Yeah, as I walk out, I'm just.
I mean, I don't know Zebediah.
Right.
I'm just kind of here for a contract, and Wendell's like completely just becoming a monster hunter kind of person back.
I figure I come out and I was. All right, I'm set. Let's go. Let's get this done.
Okay.
Do I notice that he's got more like pep in his step or anything?
You will over time. Let's say you don't notice it yet, but from this point to the next point, you will. So, where to next? We know where the Cycloctator is. We know where the Eoris Trading Company is.
Time's probably ticking, right?
Time's ticking?
Right?
Yeah, man, I think this is the last stop we had in mind before we headed to actual try to track down the beast, and so we have to break in through.
Since so much time has passed, could we say maybe even the beast has desecrated this outpost a bit more? Since we decided to do other things instead of going directly there?
Sure, yeah.
All right. So no resistance.
Well, I imagine it's a race against time as well for more reinforcements to show up from
That's
them.
true. Dang it.
Now,
So-
not to mention, I mean, just because you know that they're there and there'll be a perimeter doesn't mean that you can't find the spots where there's little to no one there. You know, I mean, it's not like there's 1 million men in a line circling the place. There's obviously
Right.
parts that would be, there's probably even parts that are empty. It's like our wall to Mexico or something. It's not 100%, covered. And it's a trading company, not like, an army. So while they have forces, they're not exactly the same thing.
Yeah, like we'd make our way towards it, and we do it as stealthily but as quickly as possible.
Do I know anything about the layout of the perimeter from my time at ICTC?
No, only because the ICTC didn't have this perimeter. So, oh, I'm sorry. Actually, they would have, right? Because you came a day ago. So, yeah, yeah, you would know quite a bit about it then. You would just know that for the most part, it's these air drop ships. They're mostly huddled together in one area. They do have people that are kind of patrolling, but mostly are their scouts because they're really just trying to keep an eye on the cycloctator and the damage.
Okay. I will share all of that information with the rest of the group and ask if anyone knows the layout of the land well enough to think of a hidden path through, I guess.
Okay.
Well, we would look at all of Zebediah since he's been here the longest on this planet.
Well, the first thing would be, let's see how reliable Windows information would be, right? So, what strategy would help you remember kind of like what their layout was?
I'm going to go with performance. Basically, I'm thinking of this layout as like the markings on a stage for where you might be as I'm reciting an epic poem to my fans. You know, all two of them.
Okay. So, it's definitely an imaginative use of it, right?
Yep.
Go ahead and give me a roll. Okay.
Man, you're on fire tonight.
Yeah, right. There's 3 checks continuously too, right? So, okay. So, from the best that you remember, you have quite a. I mean, there's largely the areas that you just have to avoid more than the areas that you would have to, precisely pass through. That would definitely get you close enough to the area that with a little bit of the group's use of hiding in plain sight or moving through the area unnoticed, it should be pretty easy to get through. So if he could give you the right path, what would be your tool of getting through unnoticed?
If we get the right path, they are primarily focused. They aren't really focused on anybody getting in to begin with right now. It's more about keeping the eye on the beast inside. So it would just be initially trying to scout out the perimeter of exactly the path he wants to see of what's around, and then sneaking through the closest path there. And I could use Renjiks to kind of do a flyby and come back and convey over time as we've learned to kind of communicate.
Yeah.
Like the best path for us to take once we get there.
Okay.
In accordance with his understanding of like the troop deployments or what forces and all that.
Who's got the strategy role? I feel like it'd be Sout because Sout's the kind of the leader of the hunter group.
Right.
Unless, of course, you defer to Zebediah. Who is kind of leading the group through here unnoticed?
Well, like I feel like I'm mostly here because Kiriara wanted my help, and I was assigned. It's more like in my mind. It's more like, hey, hunters get assigned to something. I would obviously work for Kiriara, like because we used to work for each other and help each other. So me and these red shirts are basically like I was assigned, and then I was assigned a small battalion. I have a hunters organization, so
Yeah.
it's not like I'm not like a nobody. I'm somebody in the company kind of thing, or not company, but So that's why I'm. Plus, I don't really. Do I know this planet decently?
Yeah, you live here.
Okay. I live here. Oh, I didn't know that. I thought I was just visiting.
Only one just visiting is Wendell.
Right. But I'm not from this section of the planet then, right? Is that it?
You don't live in the house, but you hunt here.
Okay, make it sure. Well, with the information that Wendell has given me, I guess I could use that because I kind of like the dropship idea.
Okay.
So if we can get there, maybe even like if it's just like say a handful of guards, maybe overtake them and use their comms to pinpoint the cyclotor, and then basically borrow. I like that idea. If you guys are cool with that,
Sounds good to me.
do I need to roll something?
Well, I mean that would be a challenge, right? Because you have to,
Okay.
Find
Maybe I
it,
can
get
convince
it,
them.
take it, right?
I have haggling.
Well, that's a possibility. Honestly, that's a possibility. Okay. So what would be the first step? Would you try to find one of the dropships that was like the least guarded?
Yeah.
Okay. How would you go about doing that?
Between Wendell's and Zebediah's information of the layout of the land,
Okay.
I would figure out where there was a clearing, because they would. If they're a company, they would probably find the most efficient way to make a clearing that didn't require them to spend much money to make that clearing. Because they're all about maximizing profits, right? In a way, they're monsters. We're all monsters. So monster knowledge kind of.
We're all monsters. Okay, so the challenge of this, right, to get the dropship, right? So the dropship has traders, right? And they're precious because they're kind of like the camp. So let's see. So the dropship would have a mind, body, and spirit. The body, if you just like fought your way through it, right, beat everyone up to get to it, it's probably like a 6. Because assuming that you do have the information that Wendell knows, right, and you do have a group of hunters that could kind of scout it up enough to realize, don't go for that one. Nope. Okay, this one's good. We're gonna say the mind outsmarting the guys, like maybe trying to get them to leave the dropship like unattended or something. That's probably like a 7. So spirit to get them to go away. That's probably a 7 as well, right? So it's actually a little bit easier to beat the shit out of them because you are a little posse of actual fighters, right? Like destroyers, hunters, with weapons and are unknown. The tags that they have is that they are armed. The dropship itself is not something that necessarily any of you know how to pilot. So we're going to say tech. And we're going to say the third thing is probably scouts. The problem is that the people that are out there are the people who are good at also hiding, and they are trying to see the Cycloctator, but they are the people who you could run into on accident. Okay. So, who has the first idea? Kush, you could say something along the lines of like, hey, well, how you could tell me how your knowledge of what you did before could help you pinpoint the best dropship. Anybody could use the hunters or use their own abilities to help us sneak up to it, to scout, or to get on it. Of course, you can do whatever you want to outsmart the men around it or the guys on it, or what's the first action? If not, I'm going to start with Sout.
Okay. That's fine. I thought you were starting with Kush. That's why I was confused.
I thought you were starting with Sout.
That's fine. I figured we would try to find, once we get all the information, I want to find one person, like single them out.
Yeah.
Obviously, like very stealthily, silently, and then like with our weapons drawn, I want to use my haggling skill. Yeah, so he could just hand me the keys or the key code to one of the dropships, and maybe explain to him that it's in his best interest to let us hunt down this creature that they want gone anyways.
So you're trying to find like the guy with the keys, or just one guy alone?
I'm just trying to find one guy to maybe get them on our side in a way. Then if he resists, then just kill him. And just try with the next guy.
Okay, so you see a guy walking along the side of a dropship. He obviously just took a piss around the side front of it.
Perfect. I grab him.
So you can he doesn't see you coming. He's kind of unaware. He obviously just kind of works here hanging out. He's not armed in a way that looks, deadly, right?
Right, but still, he might have a blaster or something.
The guy, and he's got kind of like a jumpsuit on, with the proper showing, his, looks like an average guy, probably young 20s though. Young,
you said he was just peeing, right? So he was probably by a brush, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think we would have snuck around by then, and grabbed him and pulled him into the brush, kind of thing.
Sure.
Maybe I would hold him, right so like his head is right here by my head, right?
Yeah.
And then someone else maybe holds a weapon right up to his neck. So he's not particularly wanting to move around too much.
Okay. Roll imagine haggling.
All right, that's definitely imagine. Because I don't know if I want to roll though. I kind of want to just buy it.
You can buy it. You got that.
No. Okay, it's not terrible.
No, not terrible.
I got 1 success.
Okay. Any tags that would help? Oh, sorry. First of all, let me see if I got any tags to stop you. So we
Yeah.
said that they are. Wrong sheet. We said that they are armed, that they have tech that you might have, and they're scouts. Okay, so the bigger thing is what you didn't know is they have a buddy system. So every guy
Yeah.
goes out with his buddy. So there was another guy who was still peeing. So that guy could notice you when you grab his buddy.
Right,
So
right.
re-roll your success, re-roll your haggling,
So-
and see if it sticks.
How do we re-roll successes on the sheet, or should I just roll a 1d10?
I think you can just hit that strategy, right, on the sheet? Or does that roll both always?
I'm pretty sure that rolls both.
Yeah, then just roll a d10. Okay, stayed the
Hey,
same.
it's the same.
Perfect. So there,
So-
his buddy walks around. He looks, Lance, Lance. Ah,
Well,
shit. He
I
probably
still have
just couldn't-
tags.
What's that?
Okay. I still have a tag I was going to use to re-roll.
Oh no,
mine.
no. I'm just saying the guy. He's like whispering for obviously the guy you have in your hands is Lance, and he looks around and shrugs his shoulders.
Make sure I put my hand around the guy's mouth to make sure he doesn't yell out for his buddy.
Yeah.
And that's also, and I whisper to that guy, so it's Lance. You know, like I'm trying to like intimidate him
Sure.
as we're, you know.
As you see his friend comfortably get back around and into the dropship, letting,
Awesome.
showing Lance that there is no hope for anyone to find him right at this moment, at least.
Okay. So let me see. I don't know if I have the tags right now. Wait, Kitty Hour's probably nearby. Maybe
Yeah.
she's the one holding a weapon, and she's reliable.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you know, yeah. So she's with her holding the knife, that nothing
Yeah.
can go wrong, right?
Exactly.
She knows just
So-
the right amount of pressure without possibly slitting his throat or something on accident.
Or maybe she kills my accent.
Cool. Well, we'll see.
Oh, actually, I can't critically fail anymore, so that's good.
Okay. And then re-roll that imagine.
Nope. Oh no! Critical both. I take 4 points of damage, right?
Yep. So you were trying
And I'm
to
dead.
manipulate it, right? So you're going to take 4 points
Yeah.
to spirit.
All right.
The challenge will take 4 points though too, which is good. So
Yeah.
when that happens, right? Best times, worst times. So first of all, what's the worst thing that can happen, Sout?
What's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah.
Like, mentally wise, that knocks me out. I don't know for sure. That's why I'm struggling. Like I don't know.
What was your spirit?
Or
Okay, so it's going to push you out.
I don't know. I'm bewildered. I should have just bought it.
Okay. Lucid, what do you think? What's the worst thing that could happen? That either might demoralize him, might make him run, might make him just sit here and cower. He could kill the guy, and he could be like, oh man, we didn't need to kill someone. And he's just out for the scene then.
I got something now if you want.
Sure.
Yeah, good.
So because I didn't realize, maybe he's a really like normal guy,
Yeah.
right? That when I yanked him out of there, I accidentally already like cracked his neck and didn't realize it at first.
Your name is Lance, isn't it?
And then like I was still trying to talk to him, and then I realized he's a corpse, and I feel bad because it's we're hunting monsters, but we're the monsters on the inside.
I like. So you just keep talking to him. You're like threatening him. You don't realize he's dead.
Yeah, that
Lucid,
Kitty Hour's gonna tell me.
Lucid, what do you think? You have anything to add or anything else?
I mean, I think that works pretty well.
Okay. What about you, Kush?
I agree.
Okay. So actually, what we did there is this takes time, right? So you're out of the scene because you're too busy with this corpse, trying to get him to convince him to get you the keys and get you on the dropship. So you and Kitty are occupied. What's the best thing that could come out of it, though?
He was the driver, so we get all like the ship can't take off.
Nice.
What are
that's
the
good.
tags on it? What are the tags?
Armed, tech, and scouts.
I feel that would take out tech because he's got the manual too.
Awesome. Okay. That's fine.
Like we don't even need someone else to pilot for us because it's a trading company, and training's expensive. So the manual basically it's like how to handle this for dummies, right? So it's very simplistic.
Wow.
So that's like the best outcome. Like, but I'm out. So
Lucid, what do you think? Is there anything that you'd like to add to that? Anything cool you think that we could touch with that? It's something that it does 4 damage to the spirit of the challenge. So I mean, it's going to make it a lot easier to convince the rest of the crew or manipulate the people.
I mean, not necessarily. I don't know if it's cool or not or whatever, but it'd be entertaining in a morbid way. Is like it is biometrically operated in part, so you have to have his body still though, because it's just tuned to him.
Awesome.
that's the best outcome, really.
Well, because then they think they have traitors in their rank if they see him piloting the ship at him.
So I got like Weekend at Bernie's. Yeah, awesome. No, I like it because it's funny, but it's like you said, it's morbid. That should have been like the worst thing. We need his body.
Well, but if
at all
they
times.
see like they said, like they see one of their own people turn on him, like piloting the ship against orders, then maybe they have other people that they can't trust either in their ranks.
Yeah.
Kush, what do you think?
That was way better than anything I was going to say.
Valid.
Weekend
Very
at
valid.
Bernie's with Lance.
So with that in mind, what happens to Sout? So Sout gets a negative tag from this. So Massator, it sounds like, right, we already talked about you're scarred. Or maybe we should say you're a monster, right? Because you keep talking about this idea that, like, it's starting to seep in that, wait, we hunt monsters, but sometimes we are the monster.
Yeah.
So why don't you take monster as a negative tag?
Which one is it blocking though? Is it blocking resourceful, grizzled, athletic, or does
Up
it
to
block
you.
my vision?
Up to you.
I could say it blocking glorious if you're feeling like monstrous.
Well, so does it block a vision tag? Can
No.
it block a vision?
Oh,
You gotta block
Veto.
one of your good ones. While you're working on that, Lucid or Kush, what would you like to do? It looks like he's got that part handled. He's over there talking to one of the guys that he kidnapped in a bush. So
yeah.
You said it was monstrous. What's the tag?
monster.
Oh, monster. Okay. I'm gonna use it to block grizzled.
Okay.
If Wendell wants to go, if not, I have something in mind.
Go ahead.
Okay. Seeing him go around there and like kind of watching, see the other one make his way back into the ship, and maybe leaves the door open because Lance should be right behind him. So I want to like try to sneak in basically, and use my extending cane whip basically to tether it around his neck and just kill him.
Okay. Sounds
I have no
like,
qualms about the whole monster thing. not against these guys.
sounds like you're targeting the body. What strategy would help you do this? Is it about
like subterfuge? So I'm trying to
subterfuge
sneak.
getting in? Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's imagined subterfuge because you're hoping that he leaves the door open.
Well, subterfuge just in the whole thing, trying not to get caught, basically sneaking up to it, and while he's not paying attention and whatnot.
Okay. So I guess, yeah, if you wait and you watch and you take your time, it'd be reasonable.
No,
Finding
definitely
the
not just
moments.
rushing in.
Yeah. So which way are you going to do it?
Reasonable.
Okay. One success. So, we took the tech out as a problem, but these men are armed. So, inside, when you go to do that, we'll say that not only the men armed, but the ship is armed. So, when you basically go slipping into the back door and pulling out your weapon, you see that not only is it like what we would think of like a surveillance camera, but it's a little like gun that basically targets and a red light points towards you. It doesn't make any noise though. See, it hasn't outed you yet, but it definitely throws a curveball to your situation. So re-roll your success and see if it sticks. It sure does. Any tags that would help you with the reason score?
To show these whippersnappers.
Sure. And how does that add to the situation?
Well, yeah, I am an old guy. They don't know I've been all enchantified to regain some of my pep, but just kind of proving myself that I still have what it takes to kind of do all this, kind of driving me forward to prove to all these young bucks that the stories are true, basically.
Okay, roll and see if it helps. Show these whippersnappers. And,
Yeah.
cool. So 2 successes. Great. So with that, you do 2 damage to the body, brings that down from 6 to 4. You can remove one of the tags that maybe they're being armed is no longer a problem, or that the scouts are no longer a problem.
I think the scouts are no longer a problem. That makes the most sense.
All right. And what happens when you grab that guy by the neck and snap him out, letting him know that these whippersnappers?
Yeah, figure kind of lasso it around his neck and like yank him towards me. And as he comes towards me, I just kind of like.
As there's that moment where he looks in your face and he goes, "You could be my father." Snap. Wendell. To your horror, you see Zebediah whip a guy out with some kind of lasso blade, and then just as the guy really rolls back to him like a tongued person, he just snaps the neck, and this body lifelessly drops off the little what do they call that little board as you walk in, like the ramp?
Oh yeah.
I am freaking out. I was totally fine with killing monsters, but killing humans, that's a little more than I bargained for.
So, in your case, when you're working towards a challenge, obviously the most ideal thing would be doing things that would help you defeat it. But sometimes it's just surviving or enduring through the situation. So, if you have something in mind, great. But we could also roll to see how well you're dealing with that.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. All of a sudden, these 2 people who have taken me under their wing have just gone off.
Well, you don't know what I did yet.
It was all fine and dandy until people started getting hurt. Yeah.
Right. These people were my coworkers up until yesterday.
What strategy would help you deal with the sight of? Well, like you said, these could have been you yesterday. Random Eoris trading company people who probably all are indebted in some way or another, working with their personal trainer to be their best contribution.
I can just choose to take a failure, right?
You sure can. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do that. That sounds like it fits the story pretty well.
Okay, so but if you do take a double failure in the challenge, you'll get a negative tag.
I think I'm okay with that.
All right, cool. So, given that you're being such a good sport, what do you think it should be? Are you scarred? Are you mortified? Are you paralyzed with fear? Are you
maybe disillusioned as to the as to how well things are going with this?
Sure, disillusioned.
And I think that will negate fake it till you make it, because that makes sense.
I like too that you look like the Predator, so you look so badass, but you're like wah wah. Master's out, so Zebediah, you're in. You can continue on, but in the next room, as you would open that door, you would find basically a pit area with a lot of crew members. So I think the first thing I want from you is an imagined subterfuge to see if that catches you off guard or not. Like, do you walk into their trap because it's the only way to go? So.
No.
Okay. You got 1 success. And we said they're armed. So obviously what happens is basically as you would move on to the next room, not hearing much, not having much that sounds like out of the ordinary. So far you've seen one at a time, so you kind of felt like maybe you can work your way through this little dropship, finding them, picking them off. I mean, there's not like 20 on there. There might be 5, maybe there's 8, maybe there's 3, So basically as you kind of get into the next room, you find yourself in a mess area with a large abundance of them, and they just happen to be playing with their boomerangs or their their bullet, because everyone thinks they're like boomerangs, they throw them at you, but they actually shoot you. Yeah. And they are all talking while what they're actually doing is they're cleaning their equipment, but to you it looks like that they're all playing with their weapons, with the door basically behind you making a clicking noise more than you expected. So re-roll your subterfuge and see if that sticks. Great. Anything you have to help you re-roll that imagine?
Can't be bothered.
Can't be bothered? How does that help you?
They're there, they're armed, I don't care, I'm taking them out.
Oh my god, okay. And
Oh
No
no.
luck. Your belief is 4 right now or 6?
Yeah, it's 4.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So it's 1 and 1. You both take 1 damage to the. I'm assuming it's gonna be body, right? Because you're gonna try to hurt them. Would have been the outcome.
Yeah.
All right. So the body goes down to 3, and you take 1 point to your body. So yeah, the guys are like, they hear the clicking noise, and what would you have gone to do, right? Because you're gonna go fight them. So what would that look like?
Well, initially I figured I'd be kind of just lassoing and taking out a couple of them.
Yeah.
I didn't expect there to be quite as many in the ship itself.
Sure.
Just landed already. So I think what probably happens is this is when I first kind of learn I actually retain some of that icy power or whatever, and it kind of just expels out in a cloud, if not chilling them in place, just kind of making it incredibly uncomfortable to where it's harder for them to focus because they're so cold.
Okay. As you do that, yeah, and you can see them like shivering, moving towards their weapons and trying to move towards you, right? The inevitable oh shit moment. It worked, but not like I hoped. Wendell, you're outside. What do you do?
Right now, I don't want to be alone. I feel really bad.
There's a
all
bunch of the
sudden.
hunters.
Pardon?
There's a bunch of the hunters. I mean, some of them would be over there with, Massator and Kitiara, but they don't all have to be.
No, they definitely don't all. Some of them would definitely be with you, Wendell. Remember, you inspired some of them.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to say, we can do this without killing anyone else. And I'm going to lead them inside after Lucid or after Zebediah.
What strategy would help you lead them inside?
We're going to go with performance.
Okay.
I'm not sure that I really.
You're gonna be like the
this, but I've got to at least convince them.
Nice.
It sounds like Imagine, right? Because you're definitely on the fence. You don't even know what you should do right now. But the thought of what they just did, but then you're like, but what if it happened to them? You know?
Right.
You're
Right.
dealing with the mortal coil both ways. And as always, rolling well. So the only tag I have is armed. But obviously that is a considerable problem. As you said you lead them, right? And you find yourself face to face with one of their rotor guns that has the dot pointed at your predator head.
Right.
As you're like, come guys, go. They don't notice it, but it stops you in your tracks as they start moving around you. But re-roll both your successes and see if they stick.
Okay.
Probably just hit the same button again.
Yeah.
Because it's both. Oh! You already took some damage, right? 'Cause you took a fail earlier? That's not good.
Okay, so that's the good news, right? Yeah, he was trying to fail, but he didn't want to keep taking failures. So he's like, I'll roll this one out. Okay, so Kush, what's the worst thing that could happen? Rotor
I'm
cannon
just
pointed
charging
at your
right
predator face.
I don't know what this little red light means. It could just be like an okay, I recognize you. I see your ID badge. You're fine. Come on in.
I love too because in your vision roll you were like, I need credentials. All right, so Sal, what do you think? What's the worst
The rest of
possible
the
thing
troops
that could
make
happen?
it through because they were like the thing is fixating on him.
Yeah.
And he stopped, but the rest of the troops make it through. But then, like moments later, it whirls up and it just kind of like mows him down. It doesn't maybe kill him,
Sure, yeah.
but remember the armor maybe just wasn't as good. It was great for Monster Hunter, but not bullet absorption. So
Thanks. I like how you said not bullet absorption. Lucy, what do you think?
I mean, the absolute worst would probably be death, but
Sure.
that would kind of. No, I think what Sout said makes a lot of sense. Where it costs us a lot of guys.
Yeah. So, Kush, was Wendell? It sounds like it was against the spirit, right? Because you were inspiring your friends. You were manipulating them or coercing them in
that's
a positive way to react and attack, right?
Right.
It could be body though. If you were saying, "Well, hey, I was just getting the guys to do damage," but it's either one. I heard spirit, but which one did you want to target?
I think spirit.
Okay. So you're going to take 4 points to your spirit. Are you still up after that?
I am no longer up.
Okay. So what happens to your character given that situation? Which ideally is If it's spirit, then I would imagine it's either going to mow down all of the guys that are right around you, right? Because that would demoralize you more, especially when you were traumatized by death,
Right.
would be to lead a whole group of people to their death, right?
We'll say 5, right?
Sure.
Sure. Yeah. So Wendell is just going to drop to his knees in horror at what just happened and just start shaking. Like, oh my gosh, what have I done?
Here's the best part to make it worse. Like, it mows down everyone else, and it looks back to Wendell and goes, "Welcome, Wendell." Like, it does recognize him.
Okay, that has to happen for sure. Yeah. After it mows everyone down, you hear like the rotor like slow down like a machine gun, and it beeps back at you and then turns blue. Right, the little red light turns blue, and it's like, Wendell, you are now safe. Return to what placement or return to station. So it actually thinks that it protected you from hostiles.
Does the Sephidiah see this?
No, he's inside. So
Okay.
and he's the only one still standing, right? So, Wendell, I imagine you're outside, battered by the horror of this. You get a negative tag, so think of another negative tag. One that replicates the. You could be cracking. You could be mad. You could be losing your mind. You could be, broken. You could be all.
Yeah, I think broken sounds good.
Lucid, you're inside. All the guys are slow. They're moving to the weapons. When I say all the guys, we're talking 4 guys that were like around the table, had some food out still, but they're mostly cleaning their gun weapons, which also means that they weren't totally ready to attack, and they are super slowed by the situation and shivering, but they are moving to do so, but it's totally your floor. What do you want to do?
I'm thinking I whip around one, kind of pull him to me. As he comes to me, I knock him forwards into another one, and he falls backwards. And then, I don't think I can realistically take out all 4 right now, but I think that's a pretty good moment.
Sure. What strategy?
That'd probably be beat it with a stick.
Beat it with the stick. Sounds like a reasonable use to me.
Oh, man. Oh,
2 successes.
okay.
So, they're armed, but I already told you that they're kind of not armed by my setup, so I'm not going to hold it against you. So 2 successes brings that body down to 1. So, like you said, you dispatch of 2, and as you dispatch of both of those men in the fashion you said, the third guy thinks he has his weapon ready, points it at you, right as you basically break those 2 guys, and when he points his boomerang at you and you're waiting for him to throw it, you hear a loud bang noise. But unfortunately, it blew up in his hand. And in the smoke, it threw him back over the table, and he's screaming, and you just see blood splatter. You don't know exactly what happened, because you've never seen a boomerang do that, but that's what you saw. So,
He's down.
There's one other guy who basically you believe has got whatever his boomstick is ready. As he's taken all the time, he seems very calm under the pressure. Seeing everything that's happened, it hasn't broken him yet. And he's staring right back at you. So in his case, he, instead of pulling the boomerang towards you, actually has like a little switch in his hand that he presses. And you hear behind you more of those like mounted gun things start popping out. What do you do?
I think I use my lasso whip to wrap around one and like pull it down while I take the enchanted horn and throw it to pierce the other one.
Okay, cool. Beat it with a stick. Reason.
Our final hope lies with you. Oh, yeah.
Okay. In this case, I will use armed against you because now there's the 2 guns and the guy with his boomerang. That though he didn't he caught you off guard that he didn't shoot. So reroll your successes and see if they stick.
So I reroll both?
Yep.
Okay.
We need that drama. And they do. All right. So
Sephidiah, dude, with that mystical frozen heart.
take us home. What happens? This obviously is going to end the problems we have with this dropship. Maybe the guy Sout does have the keys in the manual, but this will eliminate the threat, right? So what
Right.
happens?
So I lasso the one, and right as it starts firing, I pull on it, but it doesn't actually rip it off. It just turns it, and it hits him. And the other one, I throw the enchanted horn, and it just pierces right through it before it can fire.
Awesome. What happens to the guy?
He's torn to shreds by his own gun. By the
Of
turret.
course he is. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Sout, you realize that the guy in front of you is no longer alive.
Yes.
Kitty R looks to you. We've been talking to a corpse this whole time. She drops the guy.
Wait, when she drops the guy? I was holding the guy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was-
I thought because she had the knife, I thought she was holding him. She
No,
pulls
no,
the
I
knife away
like
from his
grabbed him
neck.
because right,
Yeah.
and she, whatever kind of weapon she would have,
Yeah.
'cause I pulled him out and grabbed him and like made sure he couldn't like scream, kind of thing.
Yeah. She gives you a shove. She's like, he's not even breathing anymore. He's dead.
I'm mortified. I'm like, I didn't mean to kill him this time.
You hear
Yeah.
like what sounds to be like some kind of a moaning or a crying or some kind of noise coming from the other end of the dropship.
Do I hear the screams of my other red shirts dying or no?
Sure. How about right now you do?
Like right as this transpires, I started going through the guy's pockets to find maybe the things.
You hear
maybe?
something like a machine gun going off, and them just like screaming and like as if they were burning alive. And
Burn. Then they're familiar screams, right?
yeah,
Oh no! I dropped Lance to the ground for now.
as you
and,
pulled out those
rushed
things
over.
you were looking for, the keys or this device that you assume is the keys, right?
Right. In this book that has pictures and words that I can't read, or can I read?
Sure. Why not?
Okay. But then I rush over to find Wendell crouched down on his knees, shivering, and a bunch of my compatriots dead.
Yeah.
I ask him what happened.
How do we deactivate the auto turrets?
Is that what he said?
Yeah. I'm just like sitting here kind of rocking back and forth. How do we do it?
I bring him up and I slap him because like I'm already feeling kind of monstrous myself. Like I just lost 5 of my people, and I need this guy to get his up in the game here. You know, like hey, you're in this now, man. Does that work?
I was gonna look up and like still be kind of out of it, but
You're wearing a mask. I can't see your face. So I wouldn't know. You just
Inside,
nod.
Lucid, what do you do?
Well, I'm thinking as they're in the other room talking, they hear another like bang bang as I take one of the boomerangs and kill the other 2 that were just knocked out.
You hear the noises coming from the next room in.
Yeah, there's more screams.
Actually, they're not even really scream. Well, the one guy screams when he blows up his gun.
Yeah.
So you hear a man scream inside, and then yeah, right.
And then there's just a bunch of gunfire.
And you hear some breaking, and as if there was like smashing, and then yeah, gunfire.
Is the dropship on fire?
No,
Okay, good.
but yeah, luckily there really hasn't been a lot of shooting that was inside, right?
At least not in any critical rooms, at least.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So, Lucid, what do you do? Or do you guys rush in to go find out what happens to Zebediah? Or
I mean, I would after I hopefully straighten Wendell up enough. Like, I assume he's more fine than he probably is because he's wearing a mask, so I can't see
yeah,
like the hollow look in his face. You know, I just killed the guy by accident. You know, so I get him standing. He looks good enough, and I run in, and of course I see the carnage that Zebediah has done,
Yeah.
which makes the legend of Zebediah just grow more in my mind as. Like I feel like I failed, right? Because I murdered a guy that was going to try to intimidate to get information, and here's this guy who just. Well, I mean, if you're
Bodies.
intentionally killing, which is fine, I'm okay with intentionally killing, but when you're trying not to, right?
Right.
It's different.
And Wendell's just like, oh shit, they're killing people.
yeah. Yeah.
so
I
think,
see Zebediah.
I think what we're trying to do here is I want to like in the next like one round of you guys talking, finish the session and the scene, right? And then basically leaving us where we, depending on how you guys are, reinvigorate for the Cycloctasaur, or eventually maybe dropship on him, demoralized. I don't know yet. So, yeah, let's try to tie this part up with whether you want to be a broken man leading into the next session, or whether you guys all go, okay, let's go after it, and the ship flies off, or take it where you guys want. But feel free to take it to whatever direction, like you said, because two of you did dramatically fail. So, like, being broken is totally cool, too. So,
well, I mean, we can't use our negative tags, right? To our benefit? It's only against us, right?
yeah.
Okay. Wow. I mean, I feel like Zebediah would probably tell us we're on a timetable. And I feel because the fact he just slaughtered a bunch of people, the legend has grown. I don't think anyone would argue against him.
Yeah.
Like, not in a bad way. We would trust the man who clearly is more hunter than any of us, who wants his prize hunt.
So,
Yeah, I figure as he walked in, I'm walking over, picking up the horn, and getting my stuff back together, and there's ship's clear.
You say that, ship's clear?
Yeah.
I nod. I pull out the key card and this manual, and I hand them to you because I figured that would be useful to you. And I give you like a thumbs up how I got them, but it's more like a grim thumbs up.
Kush, too, like, for you, you do, like, as you kind of see, you, like, the nonverbal say everything, right? Like, you see Massator, and while he is, like, begrudgingly nodding his head like, we did it, you know, he looks different than the proud leader he's been up till now. Especially the one who is constantly trying to inspire you that this is the right path. And Zebediah looks the same as you would expect, but just more of the monster, right? Like,
We're becoming monsters.
like, he is the guy who is, I mean, everything that happened in this room was him, you know? There's 4 men dead that are kind of ripped to pieces, 1 man burning and exploded, you know? And, like, you saw the guy he killed outside. So this old man, you see the monster that he is or could be, right? Mm-hmm. And the sort of begrudging respect that the hunters give in his direction. But you also have, like, all that blood on your hands of what that was. And unfortunately what happened, you know, in your case. But
right. So I'm going to walk in, more like kind of shuffle in, like slowly. And I look around and I look at them and say, this was a bad plan. But we have to make it mean something.
Okay. Anybody have anything else? That sounds like a great place to end.
I feel like it'd be so epic if Wendell came up to Zebediah and took the key card and the manual. You know, like the guy who's the most shooken up is going to be like our pilot. That gives him the excuse that he doesn't have to drop down on the monster either. I feel like like the subconscious part of his brain is like trying to weasel out of combat for the next fight.
Okay.
I don't know that Wendell's in that place yet.
Okay. So, with your famous last words of, you know, how did you end it again? You said,
this was a bad plan.
all right, awesome.
Make it mean something.
Okay. Since we didn't finish the milestone, basically what happens when you don't finish the milestone is we adjust belief, responding to the session, and then we'll do gratitude and we're out. So, belief, it's also interesting because we had 2 people defeated by a challenge. So, Kush and Sout, you both lose 2 belief.
We lose belief?
Yeah.
What?
Because you're defeated by a
I
challenge.
never knew about this rule.
Yeah. You don't always have it because usually it waits till milestones. Milestones are the end of a session.
Yeah.
So in this case, but Zeb, you gain 1 belief.
Okay.
Because you were still working down the dream, right?
Right.
Technically, we're supposed to ask you the questions of, like, do you feel that your character is closer to the milestone? Is Zeb closer to hunting the Cycloctosaur and getting its heart, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. In the case of the other 2, even if they're closer, that -2 would surpass the gain. So
wait, do we only lose 1 or do we?
you lose 2. You take the best, well, or the worst. So okay. With that, think for a minute about gratitude. What is the one moment that another player gave to you that was priceless this session?
I mean, Zebediah was kind of like the badass star. If this was like the episode, he was definitely the arc or Act 3. You know, he was definitely like this super imbued hunter who you said it was a dark act, right? The Dark Pact. So you're like, we don't even know you're like boosted by unnatural means,
You
but
just see that my skin is like very discolored.
yeah, but you're old. That's the way.
It's been dark most of the trip. We don't know what I really look like.
Exactly.
He's cold to the touch. That's just what happens when you get old. Yeah.
I haven't touched them yet, so Iriara might. I don't know.
I really liked the bribe of Zolaria with a bag full of eyes and another bag full of testicles. And
That
worked
was
really well.
I think the last words were really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really, I think drove home his characters like, this shit sucks, but I'm still gonna do it.
Kush
Well,
does make awesome character.
He wanted a fresh start, right?
Not the one I had in mind, but I guess the one I got.
Oh my god!
So next time we finish this little tidbit and we move right into how do we become a folk hero, right? So thank you guys for playing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Until next time.